Uh, The meeting of the Economic Development Commission from, for November the 18th, 2020. We're starting about 7 minutes late here. It's the roster. Paul, if you take the roll, there is myself, Chelsea, Trevina, and Richard present.
I've noted that, and we do need a motion to excuse Mr. Booth, Mr. Miners, and Mr. Johnson. They did inform us that they would not be able to attend this evening. Paul did say he might be able to jump on later, but he had a conflict with another board
I moved to,
meeting.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
So yes, if we could do that.
I moved to excuse Mr. R. Johnson, Mr. P. Booth, and
Mr. Miners.
Ed Miners.
Mr. E. Miners from
Okay.
tonight's meeting. Apologize.
All right, we need a second.
I second it. Trevina Adams.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
All right, thank you. It's unanimous. The minutes, I'll need a motion. The only thing I saw was there were two things, a spelling mistake of measurable and another grammar error, and I don't have the minutes that I corrected. I had to print them off new because I couldn't find the ones that I corrected, and I just printed these off. So anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
As amended.
Yeah, as amended.
I moved to approve the minutes as amended.
Looks like, did you second, Trevina, or you? She seconds, okay.
Yes.
Moved in-
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. Yes, I'm seconding.
It's been moved and seconded. No discussion necessary. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved as amended. For the agenda, I have really nothing to report on for this meeting. We will, under new business, discuss, we need to change the meeting for December because it's 2 days before Christmas. And typically we move that up a week. We've been doing that for years. Other than that, I have no other discussion. City Council Liaison, Councilwoman Herbie.
Yeah, as we approach the end of the year, a lot of the things that we do are routine. Maybe a council meeting or two ago, we renewed engineering contracts for people that we have on contract to advise us on engineering projects like stormwater utilities issues and street issues. And we just this last week did our renewal of prosecutor and magistrate. And so this is all kind of routine. One of the things that will be coming up on the agenda is passing the final budget. But Chelsea will tell you probably 80 to 90% of what we do is routine throughout the year. And it's only occasionally that we have some new things. I will mention one thing. A year ago, we passed the aggregation for electric and gas. We take advantage of starting those programs when we can get favorable rates. So we did the electricity early because in the spring, because that was the appropriate time to get the best rates. We intended to implement and work on gas aggregation as would be the normal time for those rates to be favorable, which would have been in the summer. But this year they have been higher than what Duke is providing us with. And so we are sitting on that until we can get some good favorable rates before we implement that. So that's what's going on in the city right now.
Okay, any questions regarding that from anyone? Okay. uh, I'd like to add to my report, for those of you that might not know, the reason for Ron Johnson's absent is he has COVID. So keep him in your prayers. I'm not sure if his wife has contracted it or not. And my daughter contracted COVID on Saturday, so her daughter is not allowed to go to school, and her husband and her daughter are self-quarantining at home all this week. But keep Ron Johnson in your prayer, as well as my daughter and anyone else who might have COVID. Economic Development's report. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet is a written report for tonight. If you have any questions on that, I'll be more than happy to answer questions. I would tell you that we had a series of meetings this week on these projects. We are making significant progress with regards to the Promenade redevelopment project. I don't have a final answer on that yet, but I believe that before the end of the year, we will have that property under contract with a developer to redevelop the site. This is in addition to the FitWorks project that we talked about earlier in the year. So we're very excited about this. You might recall this is the project. We also submitted a grant application to the state of Ohio for a new program that they have. The project is not conditioned upon our successful application for those grant dollars. We are going to be able to complete this project without those dollars. However, those dollars would help us kind of really upgrade the project and probably do much more on the site. And it would also allow us to move forward with that minority business incubator accelerator entrepreneurial center that we talked about earlier in the year. So those dollars are pivotal towards the public side of the project, but the good news is I believe the private side of the project is coming together. We also had a very good discussion with our friends at the Hamilton County Library. We had a brainstorming session to kind of look at options for that. I'm happy to report that they have money in their budget to do the Forest Park project, which is basically a $10 to $12 million construction project that will result in the creation of that next generation library facility here in our community. Now, what we're hoping to do, and I think Councilor Clark is familiar with this because of her work with the project, we're hoping to advance it on their timetable. The comprehensive facilities plan that the library has actually projects projects out, capital projects, all the way through 2025. Our project was originally slated for 2024. We're trying to get that bumped up to start construction possibly in 2022 and complete the project in 2023. I think there's a good opportunity to do that. But the good news is the library has the dollars to do this project. So the city's participation will come in the form of us doing some type of arrangement to, you might recall, they were going to look at building this project on the 5 acres that we own at the corner of Waycross and Sharon, across the street from the existing library. And then the city would actually be able to acquire the existing library and we could convert that to some public use. So it's an interesting project. I think that this is a great opportunity for us. And as we've talked, that library project should be the catalyst towards a complete redevelopment of those 15 acres at Waycross and Sharon. And ultimately, it should help us attract redevelopment investment to the Northland Corridor. So this is a significant project for the community. I have to thank Councilor Clark, Councilor Moore, Councilor Herbie, all of the members of council who really participated in this project and stepped forward and got our foot in the door. Because I will be honest, it was really thanks to the efforts of particularly Councilor Moore and Councilor Clark, I think initially, who brought this to our attention and got us in front of the library. And we were a part of that planning process for 12 to 16 months where they were planning out this project. our ability to get our foot in the door is, I think, what gave us I think they were always going to stay in Forest Park. Because of those efforts, I think we were able to get the bigger project. So many thanks to council for really stepping forward and helping us get this done. But I'm excited with this project. I think it gives us a great opportunity to finally get something really, transformative in that Northland corridor. The last piece of my report is I'm happy to report that we have approved the language for the contracts to market city-owned properties. This means once they are signed by the city manager, we will be able to market the 12-acre site at the corner of Hamilton and Waycross and the city-owned properties along Northland and that corridor that we acquired as part of our redevelopment program. This is important because I think it gives us an opportunity to finally generate some revenue off of these properties. And I think given just the question, the uncertainty because of the impact of the pandemic on city finances and that in the future, I think it's important for us to start taking advantage of this opportunity to move these properties. The Hamilton Avenue site alone could garner us about, somewhere just north of $1 million. Now that said, let's remember, we spent almost, $750,000, I think, to acquire that property and to bring the old building down. So it's not like we're having this huge windfall, but it does mean that we should be able to put some extra resources into the city budget. And that's just from the sale of property. Then once we redevelop the site, we can begin looking at the tax revenue that's going to be generated from the businesses that occupy that property. So this is a very important step for us. And I think getting some professional representation on board is going to help us move those sites that were acquired as part of the redevelopment initiative. And if there's not any questions, that would conclude my report.
Do we have any questions from anyone? No questions? Oh, Trevina. I can't hear you, Trevina. You're on mute.
I am muted. Thank you. I have a question for Paul. I would like to know if there has been any projected loss for our community due to COVID. Is there a projected number that we could be looking at with loss of jobs? I'm looking at taxes because of foreclosures, possibly, has that been projected at all?
I believe Harlita's put together some projections on the revenue and consistent with our philosophy, Trevina, we're being conservative in those projections.
Okay.
And Diana and Chelsea, if you want to jump in here, I thought she was projecting 10% down, just as a conservative estimate. Is that the number that you guys recall?
We haven't had we have not had our Ways and Means Committee.
Okay.
We haven't discussed that yet. We're going to do that next Monday.
It could be adjusted a little bit below or above that, but I know that we were looking at making some conservative projections. Now, that said, we've actually, I think, weathered the storm fairly well up to this point. I don't think we've seen any major job loss. What we don't know and what we're trying to get a handle on is, while they may not have let people go necessarily, we may have seen people that their wages went down during the pandemic because maybe their hours went down, they weren't So as the taxes begin to roll in at the beginning of the first quarter and into the second quarter of next year, we'll get a better handle of what that impact could be. But I think everybody is anticipating that, there may have been some, push down on revenue projections because of this pandemic. Now, that said, the good news for us is, even in spite of the pandemic, we've seen our manufacturers hold pretty steady. So our whole manufacturing district on Northland is held in a good place. Emeritus has held relatively steady. And then also we'll have the new tenant coming in at Caroline Park at the end of this year, which will be another 300 to 400 jobs. So I think long-term, we're going to be fine. We may have some issues in 2021 short-term, that we have to look at because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
And of course, that's all based on we are actually, we actually turn the corner and get past it. So let's all hope that the vaccines that have been
Yeah.
developed are everything they say they are, and that we're moving in the right direction finally.
And I have one last question, please. I know that
Sure.
at one point, Forest Park, we were offering some form of, I don't want to use the term stimulus relief. We were offering some relief funds. And now that we are moving into a second wave of the pandemic, are those resources still available for businesses, or has they all been, claimed and accounted for and no more?
Well,
I'll speak.
you may be referring to what was referred to in last week's minutes of the meeting where we got grants for 11 different businesses. Paul, you can take that.
Okay, I may have missed
Councilor
it. I'm
Herbie,
sorry.
Yeah, that came through as CARES money.
CARES
There
Act, that's
is,
what it was,
there
yeah.
is an end time on that. Now, the deadline has been extended about a week or two. Do you remember, Paul, I think there's a little money left, but I don't think it's a lot.
I thought it was just,
Yes, we had a little bit left in that because we set aside a certain amount for the small
Yeah.
business relief. We do have some dollars left, not a lot, but like you said, part of the thing is if you don't use those dollars, you lose them. So even with the small business relief money, if it doesn't look like we're going to be spending it, we want to put that towards other eligible uses in the city budget. We don't want to lose that money for the community.
Right.
Right now, I think we have a dozen companies. We have a dozen companies that are receiving those dollars. So we have 12 companies receiving COVID small business relief monies from the city as part of the CARES Act program. We do anticipate we're going to get another couple applications in. So when it's all said and done, we'll probably be around $25,000 that we would have distributed to small businesses in the community to help. And we really tried to get, Trevina, to the businesses that maybe didn't see a lot from the PPP program and the other federal programs. So for instance, we did several home-based businesses. A lot of the communities are not covering home-based businesses. We actually allowed for them to apply for our program and actually provided some resources for those companies, provided they had a business tax ID number and they were registered with our tax department as a business. We still allowed them to apply.
Yeah, I guess for me, and this is just a side note, given COVID and the impact that it has had globally, but here in little small Forest Park, and with us really trying to redevelop and rebrand and remarket the community, I just want to make sure, or not, I guess make sure, or just want to know that there are some resources available so that we can continue to move forward and still be attractive to those new businesses and new residents that are trying to come in. So that was the gist of why I was asking. I just still want us to be attractive to them, even though COVID has really snatched a lot of us, and created all this discord and mayhem.
Okay.
I think there are quite a few attractive features for us, especially right now that had to be exposed or had an opportunity to be exposed. The fact that we've been feeding people monthly for months now, the fact that we are offering some small business relief. I'm in Sharonville, and at least that I'm aware of, nobody ever sent anything, or I haven't been notified of any relief or aid or assistance for small businesses here. Westchester, I know, is doing one, but anyways, we've got that. I think that, the things we've done in terms of trying to keep people's health intact by completely moving our tax department to the senior center, and just the many, our business community has been working together with us to make sure that people don't, that seniors have time to go into the stores, protected. And I think that holistically, I think it actually shows us doing um, a very good job of engaging and understanding the needs of our community, and the school district has done fabulous too in making sure that all the kids get food. I picked up my food for my kids today, and it's so easy, it's so simple, and my kids like, are you getting the snacks, mom? So I think we've done a really good job as a community, and I'm really proud of the work that everybody has done. Sorry, I have a massive like migraine.
All right, if there's,
Video in a little bit, so if
all right, if there's no other questions or comments regarding that matter, we'll move into unfinished business. First of all, Minority Business Assistance Initiative. Chelsea, I think you're addressing that.
Yes, it's gonna be really short this evening. So I've developed I'm looking at the document right myself, but I've developed the mission. And when we talk about, in terms of minority, what exactly that looks like, because that could be a lot of different things. That's talked about, where we're talking about ethnic minorities, disabled women, veterans, those individuals. I've identified partners that not only current partners, but also partners for the future, and somewhat, got a timeline that's about 6 months right now. So the other thing I sent you guys was that questionnaire. Well, not the questionnaire, but the form that has been sent out. We have 9 responses so far, which I think is actually pretty fair. And that's just through social media. But the responses are, it's nice to see those responses. Those, of course, will be shared with you all in an Excel document that that we as a commission can see. And it categorizes it very nicely with, are these home-based businesses? Are they not? And what they want and need, and are desiring from us as a city to help them to expand and grow. And so I think that process just has been really nice. I did send it to you all, not just to be aware of, but also for your opinion and feedback. So if there's some feedback, constructive, that you'd like to give me, please. I see you, Diane.
Chelsea,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was looking over your form. You've got ethnicity, but do you have women? Do
I
you
just
have
said that. Yeah, I just, so that's on another document. I think what I should do is add that, because I came up, so the document that I was just reading to you guys off of, it classifies exactly what that is. And so that would make sense to put it on that top portion so they know who's included in that group.
Right.
I definitely agree that I will.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding that matter, or Chelsea, are you through?
Yeah, so what's kind of, let me see, what's next on that? So December, I would like to begin working with Paul just on kind of what those reach outs will look like, and kind of really identify what's the game plan for that. Are we doing this virtually, so to speak, in those requests? Are we doing it digitally? Which entities are we trying to kind of go after first, so to speak, or ask first for their support? Is that all within the city limits, or is it not? Because it doesn't necessarily have to be when you're talking about corporate sponsorship. So I would like to get some feedback or some assistance with just formulating that, or I can, start it and then share it with everybody at one time, whatever we'd like to do. But either way, by the end of December, I'd like to have that done, and the work identified for the next 6 months, so that when we go to it, we also know, in terms of dollar and expenses, et cetera, what we really need.
Well, that's something that Paul was going to address tonight in regard to the commission being sort of subdivided into little subgroups for specific purposes. And Paul, I think you were saying it was best to hold that off till next month when we have more commissioners present.
Yeah, that's part of that commission objectives discussion that we talked about. And I think Paul Booth was the one who came up with the idea of, each commissioner maybe taking on a pet project and not being assigned it. We all recognize you have jobs. But, kind of taking the lead and making sure that we kept up with it. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is when we come up with these projects is engage some outside resources to assist us, not to spend a lot of city dollars because I know we have limited resources. But for instance, we're going to talk about it next month, but that marketing program, I think it's a great idea to bring Tamia on to kind of manage that project for us and move that forward. We've been talking about a community marketing branding campaign for years. This is a way to do it, a rather inexpensive way to do it, but it kind of makes sure, it kind of keeps us honest, keeps us moving and advancing the balls. So,
And Miss Stinson is going to
Chelsea's been
address
great
that.
with that on the minority business.
Miss Stinson is going to address that next month.
Next month, yes, we did hold that for next month.
Okay. Anything else, Miss Chelsea, regarding that?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on to the next issue under unfinished business is the 2021 EDC officers. Now, although we requested people to submit in writing ahead of time that they wanted to be nominated or they wanted to seek an office, Paul or I, neither one of us this afternoon have seen any submissions. I talked to several of you and.
I sent one.
Yeah, Chelsea did submit one.
Oh,
to-
okay. I'm sorry, Chelsea. I know you told me that you were
I
gonna,
followed the rules. You said submit it, and I did my best.
did you copy me on it? I'm sorry, I missed that. At any rate, despite the fact that some people may have sent in written, I'm gonna follow Robert's rules. And I'll ask for each of the officers, of which there are 3, if there's anybody want to nominate someone differently or whatever. So the office of president, are there any nominees for that? And Richard, are you on here? Richard?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're asking if there are any nominees for president, for chairperson of the commission.
I'm listening.
I have a nomination.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
Who you nominate?
I nominate Ed Stadnick for chairman of the Economic Development Commission.
And
We
I
need a-
second that nomination.
It's been moved and seconded that Ed Stadnick be nominated for office of chairman. I accept. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for chairman? Hearing none, I will ask for a vote on Ed Stadnick to be chairman. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so it looks
Yes,
like it's
aye.
unanimous. It looks like it's unanimous. Vice chairperson, Chelsea Clark. And she submitted a request to retain that position. We need a nomination for Chelsea.
I nominate Chelsea Clark for vice chairman, or chairwoman, or
That's it.
is it
Vice
chairman?
chairperson.
Vice chairperson.
Vice chairperson. And that's second.
I'm all excited. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, or are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? There being none, all in favor of Chelsea retaining the vice chairperson's position indicate by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. The last position is for secretary, and that is Richard Bedford, and he has agreed to retain that position. Are there any other nominations for secretary? Are there any other nominations for secretary? There being none, we need a nomination for Richard and second, and then we'll vote.
I nominate Richard for secretary.
I
Trevina has-
second.
and Chelsea has seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
So we have our officers elected for 2021. And thank you all for volunteering and accepting those positions. That concludes this section of unfinished business. Paul, I think you brushed on commission objectives before in your report, but do you want anything more to say about that?
No, I think just an acknowledgement that we'll cover this at the December meeting, along with the first item under new business, the community marketing proposal. We'll cover those next month so that we have. I really wanted to cover the community marketing proposal with Mr. Booth here because that's been kind of his pet project. So I'd really like to get his input on that as well. So yes, we'll be doing those in December.
Okay, moving on then. Any other discussion by anyone?
I looked over the marketing proposal, and I really would like to have, I think, more discussion about it prior to the meeting on December. Not sure if I want to do that all now because, to be really honest, I looked at it earlier today and then I had too many meetings and I thought I could come back to it, and I haven't had enough time to look at it, so I'm sorry. But is there maybe some emailing or something that we could do to kind of more delve into that? I think it's, I don't think it's a bad idea. Obviously, I think it's great. And the price point is to be really, in my opinion, I think it's even under what, what the going rate is. So it's obviously very nice, but I just want to make sure that I think this is almost like the prelude to a citywide strategic plan as well. I think that it kind of helps as a stepping stone to kind of marriage some of these visions and kind of where we are. But I don't know that inside the weekly banded like focus, if we'll have enough time to come together as a community and say, hey, this is exactly who we are as we identify and exactly what our collective vision is. I'm just a little concerned that we're not gonna nail that part so that everything else builds on it well.
Paul, I have a question for you. Do you have the ability to use the city Zoom for a sub meeting, like with you and I and Chelsea on board?
Yes, we could do something like that. Sure.
Well, I'd like to suggest to Chelsea that you and I and her get together sometime in the near future here, the next 2 weeks or so, within the next 2 weeks, to discuss what she's talking about there. Chelsea, would you be agreeable to that?
I would, I think, but I would be, yes. But my second piece to that is that, and Diane, please feel free to steer me properly, but I feel like it's such an important, I feel like this is such an important opportunity for us that I don't want to leave very important perspectives out of that conversation. And I realize that she would be looking at community and stuff like that, but I know as far as council and the departments and stuff like that, are they kind of will they be part of this at the ground floor so that all is am I making sense? Maybe, and I have a terrific mic.
Wasn't there at a citywide level, Donnie wanted to go in the direction of marketing as well. And wasn't there something about doing some strategic planning at that level? And should we be working in sync with them?
That's what I'm saying. I just want to make sure it's not like something out here. Is this for primarily development purposes, or is it, you know what I mean, for the whole city shebang, I guess?
I think that this particular concept is primarily geared towards the economic development piece. So
Okay,
kind of how we would brand ourselves for economic development. Now, that said, I think you bring up a good point that we need to make sure that there's a connection between kind of the broader strategic planning effort and any of our strategic planning or communication ideas. And I think that that's an important connection that needs to be made. So I'll mention it to Don that we're looking at this and share this with him, because I have not shared it with him yet. I was going to bring it to the commission first, but I think you're right. I think we need to make sure that the two initiatives are working hand in hand and not kind of at cross paths.
That's it.
I don't want to compete.
Right.
I don't want it to be a competing, and I want to be able to have that same level and the same like shared vision over and over and over in all elements that we put ourselves out there as a city. And that'll kind of go to Trevina's point from earlier about, you know, what are people thinking of, and how, you know, how we're really rising out of this COVID as, you know, intact as a city, and how we get to, you know, further brand. So, okay.
No, I agree.
and you know, does there need to be discussion done before we talk to this woman? Are we making a commitment to this woman because of her presentation that we have to do some footwork before? Or can it be done after we hear what she has to say, have more discussion among ourselves?
I think we can go ahead and have her make her presentation in December, but I think we can make it clear to her that there's still work that needs to be done on our end of side of the fence before we can make a commitment on anything.
Right.
That's fair, but I think it, because the one thing we may want to do is, I think this is a way for us to filter, you know, is that the direction we want to head with our piece? You know, there are other groups that do this. One of the reasons I think that Ms. Stinson's proposal was as competitive price-wise is she's got some connections to the community. So I think that she has, you know, she feels an affinity towards Forest Park, and she wants to help some way her community. So for that reason, I think it's important to hear her out. But I agree with you. I think we need to be clear with her and honest with her. We still have some work to do before we can make any kind of a commitment.
Did you send out a request for proposals, or did she say, ooh, that looks kind of raggedy, I think I'm gonna
She approached us.
Oh, wow. She was like, y'all need some help.
Well, yeah, she was actually working with a couple of our businesses.
Okay.
So she, in the course of that work, it was really kind of a side conversation where she was saying she had done some of this branding, marketing work with the Over the Rhine Chamber of Commerce and some other groups. And I was like, well, that's interesting because we're looking to do something like that. And she said, well, I'm going to put together a proposal and send it in. And I have to tell you, I've been very impressed with what she's done up to this point with the companies she's working with. But I think I hear what you're saying. And quite honestly, I think we need to make sure that everybody on our side of the fence is on the same page. And just hearing Chelsea talk and Diane, I don't know that we're there. So I'm glad you brought that up tonight before I go running off in a different direction. And
you were gonna run through a brick wall, Paul. I was trying to save you. I was like,
Trevina has a comment.
Is it in our best interest? I mean, while I can appreciate someone offering a service to us, would it be in our interest to request additional proposals of the same? And I don't know. So please, I say this out of ignorance. But given where the money is coming from and what the money is being allocated towards to have this project done, are we not obligated to have more than one request for proposal?
At this dollar amount, we're not required to do so. I will tell
Okay.
you, we typically do.
Okay,
And I think Counselor Herbie and Counselor Clark will recognize, I mean, we would ask for other proposals. But I think because she's approached us,
okay,
um, you know, quite honestly, this is a way a lot of our projects get jump started. You know, someone will approach us. It was with the city-owned property. You know, one of those companies approached us.
mhm,
So that got us thinking, okay, now's the time to do this. We went out with an RFQ, and sure enough, another company expressed an interest, and we're going to use both companies to do different pieces of it. You know, it could be something similar here. We may want to use Miss Stinson for part of this. We may want to use somebody else for another part, or we may want to go completely in a different direction. So I'm hearing what all of you are saying, and I think we've got some more homework to do before we make a selection. But given her interest, I would encourage us to hear her out at the next
oh,
meeting.
definitely.
Because you know, I think it's unusual to have somebody approach us. You
Yes.
know,
I think it's wonderful. I
Yes.
mean, people see, Forest Park is a real diamond. I'll tell you what, it's just a little
Yeah.
buried right now, but for those people that are woke about us, they can tell.
well, I will tell
we're
you,
just a
we-
few development pieces away
A
from
cupcake. The cupcake.
well,
being a force to be reckoned with. And I like
unfortunate
people wanting to get in on that. That's awesome.
because I think there's a certain property that hangs a gray cloud over us. People don't see a lot of the progress that we're making. I mean, when you tell people right now that we have $10 million in office development underway at Caroline Park between Emeritus and the new tenant and 1,000 jobs, that's not happening right now.
That
You
is.
know, in the market.
Awesome.
So as suburban market. So I think that we're having a lot of success. And I can tell you, I just had a prospect today that was, they were seeking 100,000 square feet of space. We don't have a building with 100,000 square feet of space. We can build it, but we don't have one. So I think that, we are making a lot of progress. It's not that we don't have work to do. And one of the things we've talked about here is it's not only a matter of filling the buildings, it's kind of taking that next step and making this really a sense of place in this community, where the businesses, the residents, everybody, this feels, it's not only that we know it's a good community, but it looks like it's a good community and it feels like it's a good community. And I think we need to take that next step. It's more than just filling the buildings up. It's putting the kind of product together that we want to see in our community.
Amen. Well, I don't feel well, so I'm gonna say good night. I
All
gotta
right.
get
Good night, Chelsea.
guys.
I had a migraine today too, Chelsea.
Is it the weather?
I don't know. Earlier this afternoon, I had the same thing.
Well, come get me, Diane, from my lab because
I know.
All
Good
right,
night, you guys.
are there any other topics for discussion? Anybody?
I don't think so.
I don't hear any, so I think that we're ready to adjourn. Pravina?
Trevina,
Oh, yeah, I'm just full of it today. And part of the reason, I must be honest, I did not read the minutes and I apologize, but I have been so busy. So I apologize. I want to know, what is the status of the coffee shop? Is that still something that we're looking at? Okay.
It's-
Diane
it's
said
going
yes.
forward.
Okay,
it's going
wonderful.
forward.
That's all I wanted to know. I'm very excited about that
Mhm.
space.
Yes.
Very excited. Okay. Well, thank you all.
Okay, very good. I was just looking, I thought that was in the minutes for last week.
It was. I haven't looked at them, Ed, and I apologize. I've been swamped with papers for school. I'm
Okay,
doing
I
like-
just wanted to let you know that you can research that
And I will.
give you an update.
I feel like I'm doing dissertations. They're like 28-page written papers. I don't understand why they do that to. So I apologize.
Okay, my last comment for the evening is that everybody say a prayer for anybody with COVID. The cases are going up in Hamilton County. And I did not have an opportunity. Did Governor DeWine give his plan today, or is that coming Monday?
It came out and the mayor and I were talking about it, and the mayor is constantly on meetings with other mayors and the governor and so on. And he said, essentially, it's doing nothing different than what they are already doing. They're just saying it differently, so it sounds like something new.
Well, what I'm concerned about is, for instance, I'm just getting back into teaching because my wife's physical therapy, which has been the last 3 months, ended this Monday. And I was curious as to whether he said we were all going back to virtual teaching
I don't-
or what. No.
I don't believe so.
I
Okay.
believe with my daughter who attends Forest Park, and she lovingly says they refer to you, Mr. Ed, as Superman. She said, she said, from what I understand with her school, they are going to go virtual as of today and 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. And then they're going to look at it again toward the middle of December, whether or not they'll be coming back. So I don't know if that answers any of your thoughts, but.
But
Well,
is that just a Witten Woods
Well,
decision, or is
yeah, I
that
can
a
only
state
speak on
decision?
Witten Woods because that's where my daughter is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I deal with 3 school districts, Princeton,
Oh.
Northwest, and Winton Woods, but I do 80% of my teaching
Yeah.
at Winton
Yeah.
Woods, particularly 80% of that, although I've done the middle school and the 70% of my teaching in Winton Woods is at the intermediate school, 5th and 6th grade. That's how your daughter knows me. So I was just curious, because if the government's going to make that proposal, it's going to cut across all 3 school districts.
Mhm.
But if Winton Woods is going virtual today till after Thanksgiving, I'm going to have to call and find out if Northwest and Princeton are doing the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so say a prayer for anybody that has COVID, and everybody else stay healthy. I know I follow social distancing and a mask every time I leave the house because I'm vulnerable, having had cancer 3 times and being 39 years old. I'm vulnerable. So all the rest of you stay healthy too.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
All right, we're going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you
Anybody-
all. It was really good to see you all today. Thank you so much for the opportunity to
Paul, you had something?
handle business.
Just like to say happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and have a safe and.
To you too, Paul.
Gobble, gobble.
Yeah.
Gobble, gobble.
Thank you all for your attendance and your participation, and we'll see you hopefully next month. I don't know when that meeting will be. Paul and I will discuss it and send out an email because we're going to have it prior to the 4th Wednesday.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.